necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
You're back with David Mackey's Shiny Side Out on Revolution Radio, the #1 listener-supported talk radio on the net. So push the donate button or subscribe to the archives, which are free. Just jump in there and grab shows that you want to binge. It's awesome. It really is. You can get Solaris' shows, you can get our shows, any host shows. And actually, I suggest that you get something that you've not listened to before, a show that it's maybe been in a different time zone for you, so you've never heard it. No, go and be creative. And then tell other people about it. That's the way to do it. At the website, you can also get merchandise. I'm not sure if they've done any recent merch drops. The merch there is awesome. All the artwork's done by A-Made Painter. And I know there's t-shirts and mugs and things like that. You can do that. Now, Mackie and I also have ours on shinysideout.net. You can get our merch from there. So if you're interested in us, bye. Gee, these tomatoes are red and delicious looking. So, that's a subliminal plug. Just letting you know. Anywho, did you know what, Mackie? I'm going to ask. I'm going to actually ask. No, I'm not going to ask. I'm going to ask. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a favor and hit like, comment, and subscribe and share it with somebody. That's the way to help us with the algorithm. Because we had an amazing, maybe 800% increase in viewership of our last week's news.
5 million!
And there was only 2 likes. So if you can help us, that'd be tremendous. That'd be really, really good. Now, Mickey,
if you
we're
like
halfway. Yeah, we would like it very, very much. We still are incapable of being monetized. So let's just get up there and let's spread the word out. Now, Mickey, we are halfway through show number 624.
420 and 600. Yes, we are, my friend.
Absolutely. Now, we're talking about the Kozyrev mirror. And there's a connection to time travel and remote viewing. And this is part 4 in the series. If this is the first time you've stumbled upon us talking about it, there's 3 other episodes that you need to catch up on. Okay? And then you'll be aligned with the audience.
Correct. Now, there is something I wanted to share with you as well. So, Dave, you can take the first bit if you wanted.
Fantastic.
But, no, I got it. I found it.
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
nuts.
Sorry. So I just want to quickly, because this is important. So this came. Sorry, this came from, and I've sent you the file, of course. This is part of the Defense Intelligence Agency FOIA stuff, and this is report number B310 USC 424, and the title is "Effect of Target on Perception of Extra retinal viewing or clairvoyance, part 1, color and brightness." Extra retinal viewing. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because we're talking about remote viewing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was conducted in, when was this? Oh, there's no date on this thing here. That's interesting. Oh, March 85 is when it was released. It doesn't say when the actual, no, it doesn't say when the actual experiment took place. It doesn't say that, which is odd. I'm sure it's somewhere down further in the document. I'm happy to share the document in the chat as well if anybody has an interest. Now, but this is what happened. Subject Mr. H. Yamashita being bandaged up his eyes by cotton towel, being seated in a chair during tests. He faced the target on the table and told us about what it was. Under fluorescent lamps light with about 350 lux as room light, the face patterns of ESP-CAD square, round, cross, star waves were faultlessly distinguished. The region where the target was seen was a triangular prism, etc., etc., etc. So that's sort of the setup. So he can see things without actually seeing them, right? Which is really what remote viewing also is in a way. Like, I don't think it matters how far it's meant to be away from the target. Now the range here was limited. It's only a few meters. They found that this target, or rather the subject, could do it. It's the entire thing essentially comes down to the fact that it is something that he's actually able to do it. Okay, he's able to see things without seeing them. And this was disclosed. It was part of the Defense Intelligence Agency's Freedom of Information Act release. I mean, you have to really look for it, right? So it's really, really fascinating stuff. So we're talking about remote viewing, and we discussed last week, and this is important because everybody saw it. There was no success rate; it couldn't be done, etc., right? And it's just not true. It's a lie. Okay, it's a lie. It's yes, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it, and we have the documentation here, right? And it was released under FOIA, but if you try to find it, it's actually under other. It's listed under other documents, which is, I think, is funny.
So Mackie, think about this. George Lucas wrote a story, and it was The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. And in one of the scenes, which became A New Hope, with the blast shields down, how am I supposed to fight?
Yes.
And then,
yes.
I could see the target, he says. Remember how he used that exact phrasing?
Yes.
The experiment used that exact phrasing.
Exactly. Now, clearly, maybe Mr. Lucas was privy of, or some of the rights.
Creative people make you connect to the Akashic record. So if
that is
doing
true.
Something, yeah.
That is true. That is true. And this is why. Sorry, slight detour here, but we found in throughout human history, when one thing was done, at the same time, that one thing was done in 2 or 3 other locations as well.
Crash and television.
Yeah, 100%. Those are the big ones, right? Others are similar, and in modern times, we see it more in the entertainment sector.
Yeah, that's true.
Where you see more than one movie with the same subject matter coming out, even if those movies didn't necessarily know about each other, right?
That's right.
So there's this synchronicity that seems to occur, and I think Dave is right. There is a connection through the Akashic record. Now, what is the Akashic record? Okay, that's the Akashic record is meant to be the collective knowledge of all. I don't want to say humans necessarily, but of all living things, of all sentient living things. But I think they have to be sentient, I think, in order to access the Akashic record. But maybe not, who knows? So it's like this great big store of all experiences and lives, etc., of everybody, ever. And Edgar Cayce specifically said that's what he was accessing to help people. And Jung called it the collective unconscious. Doesn't matter what you call it, to be honest with you, right? You can call it the source, the vast ocean of intellect. I don't care, but it is something that seems to exist, and maybe see this is we are who we are, like our essence. There's Dave essence, there's Mackie essence. Who do we have in the chat here? We have
Flea in comment.
Flea essence. Yes. Right. And also Nara. Oh no, that's you. Nara.
That's me.
That's you. So Flea essence. Flea is actually. Oh, thank you, Flea. That's some good stuff. Gerbear essence. But that's our essence. And then we are Gerbear and we are Flea and we are Mackie and we are Dave because of all the accumulated experiences of our life. Maybe lives, right? So the essence doesn't change. You're the essence. That's who you are at your core, right? That's the person who you are. You're light. Let's call it. And I think that doesn't go into the Akashic record, right? That's just that's the thing that accesses it. But all of your experiences, all your memories, all your thoughts and etc. etc. during any given lifetime, I think that goes into the Akashic record, and then your essence, anyone's essence for that matter, can access all of that. And you could be blasphemous and call it the mind of God if you wanted to, right? Because if you access it, you have access to all knowledge and all experience. That it's no secrets. I mean, it's all there, right? Anyway, so that's a bit of a detour. Sorry about that.
I think we have the GPS back on again.
That's it. Back on track. Whoa, way.
No, we don't.
Why did you tell us about remote viewing, Dave?
Well, I got a funny story about that.
Okay, go.
Right. So, I once back in 1988, must be 89. I forget 89. I wrote a piece of music, and I had a very strange sensation when I was writing it. And then within maybe 8 months, the album Massive Attack, not Teardrop, the other one. Oh goodness, it escapes me. And their song has the word David in it, but it's in a background, like someone's calling it. And the actual thing that I played is in their song. And then there's a quote that is heard in a background voice. It says, "I wonder where this one came from."
Wow.
And I remember playing those notes. I remember being part of that. I wasn't, but I was either channeling them or they were hearing my thoughts and putting it down. And it is extraordinary. It really is.
Wow.
So I know that in the same room when musicians play, they will remember that concert or that time when they were one. Not they played well, but they were mentally one and playing it and feeling that connection between all the band members as one. And you can ask any muso, what was the best time you ever played this song? And they go, oh, without a doubt, it was this concert.
Wow. Can I ask you? Look, I'm not a muso. I love music, and I have, well, maybe some small talent, but my wife has got the massive talent, and certainly you do, Dave. But let me ask you this: is jazz not exactly that? Like where you are, like most of jazz. I could be wrong, but I think most of jazz is just improvisation, right?
Yeah, it is.
And you're playing off each other, as it were, right?
Well, that depends on the style of jazz, but yes.
And you know when to throw to another person, or you feel, okay, now I gotta do something here, and it is that unified mind, I think, that draws people to these things, because it's not scripted. It's not scripted. It just happens. It's just what people do.
That's right. With let's say with 10,000 rehearsals, like a skeptic would say, "Oh, they just practiced at it. It doesn't matter." But without looking at each other, or even looking at each other, and all of the interaction they have, it doesn't really matter. There is something that's inherent in jazz, which is it's not found in other music. Yes, and I know this is a huge escape from the text, but there are little clues here and there, cues, if you will, of where one of the members of the band will take it and present, which is something that you can do. So if you've got the, I think it's called, there's a wheel. Like if you're not really jazz inclined, there's a wheel of notes, and at the top there are no flats or sharps, and one way on the right goes flats, and on the left it goes sharps, and it's like a compass of concentric circles. It's really good for writing music. If you're a novice, for instance. So if you're an expert, you already know it. It's already in your head. You don't have to worry about it. You know what note goes with what, and this is really good. And these are all, you can find them as colored template, and you know what tones go with what. Like when you're painting a house and you go, what's the opposite color of this? And you get that little painting wheel and you go, exactly this one. Cool. So you can have some contrast, but they're in the same tone and the same part of the color range, except they now complement each other or they contrast each other. And that's the same thing with music. But what you'll find in jazz, there'll be little hints of an article, and someone else can pick up on that and keep going, or with the style of the music, they might take it in another direction. And I find jazz music so it's very musically complicated. But if you know what you're listening for, you'll like the rest of the audience will go, aha, yeah, because you've discovered what they've just done. You've heard what they've just done. All the musos together playing have created something unique today. Right? And it's really interesting. It's not like just noodling around and finding something that sounds really cool on your own. But with others, it's a completely different experience. So look, I want to agree, Becky, that it may not happen all the time. It doesn't matter what musician it is, and I know that others will recall the day, and they'll all agree that was when they did.
But that's the essence of the unified mind. Right?
If only we could do it all the time.
Well, who's to say we can't? I mean, obviously with the right training and so forth, but ultimately,
with the right feeling.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a feeling involved in it too.
Yeah. Oh, look, but that's and you're right, and that's the critical thing that people always dismiss. A feeling that. I used to play volleyball a lot competitively, both for my school and at the club in Germany. And
I played that too. I loved it. Yeah.
And I can tell you, then you know. But look, I think any team sport, if you're feeling it, if you have that team feeling, right? I don't care how good you are, how bad you are.
Same thing, yes.
You will win. Yeah, it's the same. You will win. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The other team could be 8-foot giants. It has no relevance on that day. If you have that feeling, and even individually, it's. I used to run a lot, almost I think 3 or 4 times a week, 10, 12 kilometers, and you're slipping into this feeling. It's a mindset, but it's a feeling of peace, almost, right? And totally. You just run. You just run, and sometimes you don't know how you got home. You just got there, right?
You weren't recording, yeah, that's right.
Nah, you're just going with it, right? And ideas come to you, and you're thinking, and all kinds of stuff happens, and connections are made as well. But we dismiss these feelings, Dave, because we were taught, feelings. What are feelings? Feelings are just nonsense. Don't worry about feelings. Right. Just go to work, you lazy bum. Feelings. But again, and this is where the mind-body problem comes in. This is really where all of this is going as well, with the remote viewing and all these other, what we like to call the extrasensory perception, which is and I actually agree with that term. I don't like paranormal and supernatural, as you know.
No.
Right? I don't like the elite. They're now all parasites to me. But extrasensory perception, I think, is a very valid term, because we have 5 accepted senses. There they are. It makes sense, right? So these are outside the sensory. And I don't think they're sensory organs or sensory senses per se, right? They're something else. I think they're holistic, Ganzfeld manifestation.
It's
that was German.
Connectivity.
Yes.
So you can operate individually, or you can operate as a collective, or you can connect. Yes.
And that's really, really critical to understand us, people, right? Because we have that capacity.
So think about the power of say your cell phone. and with the Wi-Fi and data turned off,
Yeah.
yeah, it's usable to a certain extent.
Yeah. But
Certain.
you know, what can you do? What can you really do, right?
I'm twisting my face up because that's an awful experience. Put it in flight mode and see what you can do. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Tic-tac-toe, hurrah!
once it's connected to the rest of the network, it really does make a huge difference
Yeah.
on its usability and its effects. So I think that's probably the extra sensory, this outside of the body experiencing a more connectivity. Yeah. Yeah, I see how we can describe that, Mackie. And
Yeah.
in the same vein, I mean, this relates back to the text, which I'm now segueing. Being able to remote view is one side outside of the body, right? Once again. And telepathy is one other one.
Yes.
We do have a lot of those, and I'm sure there's enough channels to connect multiple people or to a pool, the same as our network, our physical networks are made, in data transfer. So yeah, look, the selected remote viewing study participants. This is going back to the text. Ingo Swan, a prominent research participant in remote viewing. Pat Price, an early remote viewer. Joseph McGonigal, an early remote viewer, and this was involved, I think, in the Stargate project. Courtney Brown, political scientist and founder of Fair Sight Institute. David Marks, a critic of remote viewing after finding sensory cues and editing the original transcripts generated by Targ and Puthoff at Stanford Research Institute in the 1970s. And Uri Geller, that's my favorite, good old Uri, the subject of a study by Targ and Puthoff at Stanford Research Institute. Meki.
Yeah. Now look, so what we've done up to this point is given you, I guess, the more conventional view on remote viewing. It was a failure, it doesn't work, there was never any critical intelligence gained, etc., etc., etc. Fair enough.
There were cues given to the participants.
Yeah, cheating, even if it was unintended, etc. So correct. Now, but what's going to follow here are a number of other things that we are going to share with you. Okay. The first one is, what is remote viewing anyway, right? And how does it work? This was written by Karen T. Hlatchen, December 11, 2022, not too far. So we're going to go through this from a I guess, mainstream kind of source. Imagine sitting in your living room and being able to see events in your mind which are occurring somewhere across the globe in real time. That is remote viewing. Spirit mediums who are strong with the gift of clairvoyance, also known as extrasensory seeing, have the ability to remote view. However, extrasensory seeing is just one piece of remote viewing. It is an immersive experience which can also include the use of all extrasensory senses of seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting, smelling, and knowing to provide richer detail to the senses. Sorry, to the scenes, I should say. So the right term is extrasensory perception, or even remote perception, rather than remote viewing. Because if I say perception, and I like that term better, perception would include not just viewing. Perception is my entire sensory array, I'd say, of what goes on. Now, how does it work, my friend?
The phenomenon of remote viewing works the same as when loved ones in spirit send memories from the past about their lives or events to a spirit medium. The images are sent internally, much like telepathy from soul to soul. The spirit medium views the images in their mind's eye and refers to it as the third eye, which is located between the eyebrows at the crest of the brow bone. The images appear within 8 to 10 inches from the spirit medium's forehead and can be viewed with their eyes open because the focus is on what is being sent rather than objects in their current surroundings. So it's like, if you stare past something, you can still see the foreground. That's kind of what that means. There can be sounds, feelings, tastes, and smells accompanying the images, which are often in motion and play out like a movie.
Now, just to be clear, the location of this receptor seems to be in line with the pineal gland. Just want to raise that here because that's exactly
good
where
old
it's positioned.
toothy.
So it's because it is positioned pretty much
In that
on
location.
the crest of the brow bone. Yeah,
that's right.
So that's all goodness. Now why? The answer is because. But the question is always why. When a spirit medium is experiencing a remote viewing, it is for a specific reason, and the information provided is on a need-to-know basis. For example, in long-distance readings, the author has provided over the phone. The person in spirit who is coming through has shown the author in real time where the recipient of a reading is, what they look like, what they're wearing, objects around them, and more. They do this to prove to the recipient of the reading that they are there in spirit with them in that moment, and that they can see what is happening on Earth even though they are in spirit. During an in-person reading, the gentleman in spirit was showing the author a scene in which his living best friend was screeching his tires when pulling out of a parking lot and into the street. The name and likeness of the best friend was already shared through communications from the gentleman in spirit for identification purposes, and the author could hear and see the scene with the tires screeching. The gentleman's wife, who was the recipient of the reading, could not imagine her husband's best friend ever screeching his tires, as he was a very safe and conservative driver. After the reading, the gentleman's wife reached out to me to tell me that she had spoken with her husband's best friend that afternoon and found that he had accidentally screeched his tires while pulling out of a parking lot that day at the exact time the information was being shared with the author by her husband in spirit. Again, this was done to show his awareness of events on Earth, including his ability to watch over those he loved as a guardian angel. In other instances, remote viewing experiences occur to help solve crimes, or locate criminals or objects used in crimes, to locate lost people or animals or objects, to solve mysteries, to be given notice of an event occurring at a distance with a loved one on Earth, and to give insights into events on Earth. Now, obviously, the author is a practicing medium, right? That's why we put it here, because we had the official stance of no, none of this works. Now we're going to bring you the point of view of someone that actually does it. Dave?
Information revealed. The information shared is on a need-to-know basis. Insights will not be given without a purpose. The intention behind the request for information is also important. If the intent is to help others, the information usually flows freely. However, there are times when requested information will not be shared. This is at the discretion of the being in spirit sharing it, whether it is a loved one in spirit or angelic being. There are many reasons for this, including but not limited to if the information is not appropriate to share, like private information, or if there are soul lessons to be learned or decisions made in which they cannot interfere with or provide insight into for the requester. You're almost hitting a Freedom of Information Request Act here,
That's
where they
right.
can still classify it as, well, that's classified.
Keep going, brother.
Gifts of mediumship. Whether a spirit medium is receiving information about events or people from the past, glimpses into the future, or real-time events, it is the gifts of mediumship, also referred to as spirit communication, which allows the information to flow across dimensions. Spirit mediums are the receivers and interpreters who help those in spirit share their communications meant to help people on Earth with their lives and their spirit journeys. It's an amazing phenomenon that brings forth proof of our existence beyond life on Earth, as well as the knowledge that there is more to our existence than appears to be on the surface. Everyone has these gifts to some degree. People who are open in mind, body, and soul can learn how to connect with these gifts to bring more love and light to this world. As with any gift that requires skill, proper knowledge and practice hones abilities, enabling the spirit medium to be as effective and accurate as possible when being of service in this way.
Now,
I've got to say
Go on.
something here.
Yeah, please.
My mother was all of those positive things. She could see and she could read, she could, provide a story for someone's life by engaging with them, holding their cup from a cup of tea, not looking at the tea leaves, for instance, because that's awful drinking tea with tea leaves in it, but rather she would connect to them. She could see things and memories and all of those things were being presented to her, and she could describe them quite well. She was very good at it. I, however, don't have that specific skill, but rather, like my daughter and I, we obtain ours through restful sleep. We're able to see the future in that regard, or that's how it's said to us. Not sure how it works. So one time, my daughter had fallen down the stairs. I have like 19 stairs internally, which is the Australian limit of the amount of stairs before you have a flat platform. She rolled down them, slipped on one, rolled down, and I heard it, the calamity, and went to her immediate aid. After examining her and herself examining herself, we discovered she wasn't injured at all. And in my desperation to know more, I said, are you okay? And we checked her over, and she says, no, it's okay, Dad. Uh, I dreamt about this last night. And I said, oh, I think this is the time we have to have a conversation. I said, don't ever stop it. It's real. This thing's real. You can do this. It is a thing that you can do. You can either see your own future or someone else's. And I thought that was it was the right time. Because I remember I had the same future or premonition dreams when I was a kid. And the first one that I actually told my mother, when I got home from school, she was crying because it was true. There was a mushroom cloud between us and Parramatta. It looked like Parramatta had been nuked, but it wasn't. Luckily, I think we would have known that. But in the morning, I said, "Yeah, it's weird. I'm looking, staring out at Parramatta with our view, which is a town, say 10 k's away, and I could, over the top of it, I saw what looked like a mushroom cloud, like a nuke, had gone off. And then I've gone to school. When I came back, she's weeping uncontrollably with, I don't know, joy, and she said, "We've got to talk. You've got the same skill, so don't let it go. Don't beat it down. Don't ignore it. Don't just let it happen." And it comes and goes, and it's like catching the flu. You don't know when you're going to get it, and sometimes you've got it and you didn't want it, right? And so yeah, but then I went on to seeing in the future a lot of plane crashes in advance, months in advance, and they're big events with lots and lots of people. And I think the filter that I have that prevents me seeing a lot of the detail is simply large things that are occurring with a lot of people who are seeing it as a combined event. I think that's what I'm seeing more of. So
like an amplified.
yeah, I think there's got to be not a waypoint, but a level at which enough participants, maybe that participant level gauge or minimum is because it contains maybe a minimum of people who can transmit it. I'm not sure. I don't know how that works, and I don't think I will be able to find out in my lifetime. But it certainly happens.
It'd be interesting to understand, because I'm thinking about critical mass here as well.
Yeah, it's a tipping point. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to understand if the people that were part of these visions. I'd like to understand. I mean, I'm asking you that, but I wonder how many there are. I wonder if the number of people is actually part of the numbering of the Fibonacci sequence. If it's a number from the
There's a
Fibonacci
good point.
sequence.
Yeah.
Because look, again, we talk about the Fibonacci sequence constantly, and the truth is, it is one of those underlying things in nature. Even galaxies seem to conform in its spiral formation to the Fibonacci sequence. I mean, that's the largest structures that we know in the universe, so it has to be something to it. Right down to the tiniest structures, shells, for example, or even the distribution of seeds in a sunflower, or acorn, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all driven by this fundamental.
It's definitely onto something.
Well, that's the thing, right? So I wonder as well, Dave, because we're living in a sea of probabilities. That's where we are. That's just we're cast in an ocean of probabilities, and some events are more likely than others. And I wonder if this gift, because it is, it's a gift and a curse, I guess, depending on when you live, right? Depending on, you're a witch. Let's burn you quick. Let's burn the witch. But I think it's a gift, and I wonder, because I always remember something my grandmother used to say, that which fits perfectly with this whole probabilistic thinking. She said the stars, in German was die Sterne neigen sich, sie zwingen nicht. What that means is, loosely translated, the stars will bend your way, or they will lean. That's it. The stars will lean your way, but they won't force you to do anything. You know what I mean? So doors may open, but whether or not you go through them is up to you.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right? And these events that you see in the future, are they? I mean, do we have?
Are they fixed events, or they could be avoided? Who knows?
Because we know for a fact, we know this, it's documented, that people did not show up for doomed flights. They did not show up for the Titanic. They did not show up for doomed events, right? Not just the flights, but also events where the body count was rather high. They had a bad feeling or bad dream about it, right? And they didn't fly, or they didn't go to a concert, or whatever the case may be, whatever it is, or they didn't drive across that bridge on that day. So it's a thing, to be clear. It's a thing, right? And so now these are events that these people themselves were involved in. What Dave has is a quantum leap away from that, where he can I guess see or perceive things that happen to others. Now, if something were to happen to you, then logic would dictate, if you could, you would find a way to warn yourself. If you could. Makes sense.
I totally. So I've been on the way home, and then for some reason just gone like this middle of the night, and there's more than one occasion of this. And instead of turning down my street at 2:00 in the morning, I've gone, I have to keep driving straight. And when I did, I'd encountered a car accident where the people needed help. Extraordinary. So in those premonition dreams the last months, I won't see the same thing every time. It'll be another, like quantum leap. You're living the life of the person that gets on the plane, and there might be many of them. So, it stretches it further out from the event. And I don't know what plane it is. I never see the tickets. No one ever stares long and hard at their plane ticket, trying to send me the information so I can prevent it from happening. No, they don't do that. Rarely do you see a tail of a plane or something like that these days, because they're all pointing directly towards you at the gate. You don't really get to see very much detail. So yeah, it's tough. I know that the airlines had a hotline that you could call if you had something.
That makes sense, and that's people realizing. Again, why have the hotline if it's all nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is people realizing, hey, hang on a second, there is something here.
Yeah.
And that's why police departments, especially, all over the world, but especially in the States, are taking advantage of the gifts that some of these let's call them psychics. I don't care what you call them, right? Have in order to solve crimes, and we discussed this at length last time. So there's this, and I believe in the olden days, Dave, when they had white onions, that these
The Kaiser had all the white onions.
that's right. These gifted people were like the Oracle of Delphi, for example. But these gifted people were given special status and were listened to. I mean, we go to the Bible. There's this king, the Pharaoh. He's got a dream. He dreams of 7 fat cows and 7 skinny cows, and he goes to, I think it was Moses, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Joseph. Maybe it was Joseph. Anyway, he goes to one of them and he goes, "Oh, can you help me interpret my dream?" And he does, right? So dream interpretation as a key to the future, for example, right? That's as old as time. This is not new. This is not something we invented. And by the way, Mitchell Bob is in the chat. Hey, Mitchell, hi, mate. Good to see you. But it is critical for us to acknowledge this exists, right? Rather than going, none of this works. It's all nonsense. It's hocus pocus and it's cheating and whatever, right? And we are robbing ourselves here of an enormous help of a tool that could change almost everything for the better, right? I mean, but then again, of course, you have to account for the law of unintended consequences, because let's say you do follow your own advice and you don't go on the flight and something worse happens.
Oh,
so
boy, there's a choice.
Remember on Seinfeld, George I got a free ticket to go somewhere. I can't remember, like a holiday or something, in a beach resort. And then his girlfriend, I think, said he would he would, I don't know, have something bad would happen.
Sure.
Right. And so Kramer took the ticket. And then George goes, "Well, what happened? What happened?" Kramer goes, "Oh, no, it was great. I met this girl and all that, right?" Oh no, I did get a bit of a rash from the seafood. Yeah, that's probably it. Had a rash from the seafood. What? That's it? What? And then you know what George is like. He's a choleric. Anyway, but so you don't know, right? You don't know. So then it becomes really difficult to make the judgment call as to what you should let happen and what you should not let happen. Right? Like, give you an example. Very simple example. Adolf Hitler was born Adolf Schicklgruber. Because that was his father's name, Schicklgruber. Not a happy family. His mother, who was born Hitler, she was Hitler. He later changed his name to her name. And she had lost a lot of children, and I think maybe 5 or 6 in childbirth or before. So she was a lot of pressure. And allegedly, when Adolf Hitler was born, his father came into the room and said, "Oh, this is another weakling. He's going to die soon as well." And then there's this beautiful story by what's his name? Giant Peach. James the Giant Peach. Who wrote that?
That's a nickname. I don't know. Let me find it for you.
Anyway, the point is, it's part of the story that he wrote, right? And then Miss Hitler, according to lore, and prayed, "Oh, please, God, please let this one live. Please let this one live."
James Henry Trotter?
No. Maybe it's not James the Giant Peach.
Oh no, sorry.
It's the witches. The witches.
Author Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl, there you go. Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
So Roald Dahl writes both children's fiction and adult fiction. This was the adult fiction, obviously. And if you haven't read Roald Dahl for the adults, do yourself a favor and do this. There's a book called Kiss Kiss, another one called More Kisses, and I urge you to read it. But the point is this: so here's Miss Schicklgruber with a child just born, Adolf, and praying to all the powers that we listen to please let this one live, right? And in hindsight, you can't argue. Well, was that the right outcome, right, for the world? And again, this is a tough call. I mean, it's an innocent child that's lying there in the crib, right? So we don't know. And the story of Oedipus is even more confounding. The father, the king, is receiving this oracle, right, from a medium that says, okay, well, what's going to happen is your son, which is going to be born soon, is going to kill you and marry you, and his mother is going to marry his mother and kill you and become king in your stead. And the king goes, oh my God, that's awful. That's dreadful, right? But this is occasioned by prophecy, right? By someone giving him insight into the future. So what he does, he says, oh, quick, have him killed, have the child killed. Right? Well, the people, his people can't bring themselves to kill the child, so they send him away to a foreign country, far, far away. And then 20 or whatever years later, he comes back as a conquering soldier, warrior king, whatever. In fact, he defeats his father, unbeknownst to him, his father, in battle, kills him, claims the throne of that country, and then marries the queen, which is his mother.
Oh, God.
Upon learning what happened, he plucks out his own eyes. Because it's a grave sin against
as
the
you
gods.
would. Yeah.
But again, the point here is, right, what do you do with the information? And that's what my grandmother, and also my mother always said, just be careful with the information that you get. I mean, you don't want to know too much in too much detail, right? And you should always follow your instincts, right? It's good to have warnings in place, but by avoiding one disaster, or seemingly avoiding one disaster, you might bring down a much greater disaster upon your head, right? I find these stories endlessly fascinating. And of course, Oedipus is the same guy that Freud based his famous complex on. Every man wants to kill his father and sleep with his mother. That's maybe just Viennese Jews. Who knows? But yeah, so and this is really for me is one of the most fascinating subjects there is, and I think we've got enough time here, I think, to make a significant dent into the next one. So this one, the next bit of information, right?
8 minutes.
Yeah, we can make it dent. All right,
your time starts now.
This is from the Strategic Analysis Group, a monthly journal of the IDSA. Clairvoyant remote viewing, the US-sponsored psychic spying by M. Srinivasan, former Associate Director, BARC. Abstract. Remote viewing, popularly known as extrasensory perception, is the ability of human beings to perceive information and imagery of remote geographical targets. Advanced practitioners of the Indian yoga system were well acquainted with Divya Drishti. This paper deals with experiments conducted in the USA in which certain individuals were trained to acquire such remote viewing capabilities for collecting military intelligence. Again, in the East, none of this is controversial. Let's be clear, right? Very few things, unless they're completely overwhelmed by Western culture. In the East, all of this stuff, well, this is life. It's just life, right? Mm-hmm. Introduction. Then I'll hand it to you. During the Cold War years, the USA and Soviet Union are known to have been spying on each other using the services of psychic remote viewers, with the specific objective of gathering intelligence information of military significance. In simple terms, remote viewing is the ability of human participants to acquire information about spatially and temporally remote geographical targets otherwise inaccessible by any known sensory means. There were two complementary components to the US remote viewing program. A research program on anomalous cognition, AC, directed initially by physicists Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ at the laboratories of Stanford Research International, SRI, at Menlo Park, California, which was shifted in 1988 to Science Applications International Corporation, SAIC, under the direction of Edwin May. The findings of the early studies have been reported in prestigious scientific journals during the 1970s. B, mission-oriented, operational assignments overseen by various intelligence agencies of the US government, codenamed Project Stargate. We'll look into that more in detail. Information regarding this top-secret program was partly declassified by the CIA in July 1995 following the thaw in the Cold War. Since then, several research articles and many books have been published by some of the persons who were closely associated with this program. The authors have, however, expressed regret that they have not been permitted to reveal much of the sensitive details of the program. The present brief account is based on the published sources of information. Dave?
Background to the remote viewing faculty. The faculty of remote viewing is popularly also known as extrasensory perception, or ESP for short. The term coined by the pioneering parapsychology researcher J.B. Ryan in 1934, students of Indian yogic lore are, however, well acquainted with it. Aphorism 3.26 of Patanjali's classic work Yoga Sutras, 400 BC, describes the first of the Ashta Siddhis, or psychic powers, that a serious practitioner of yoga can acquire as obtaining knowledge of the small, the hidden or distant by directing the light of superphysical faculty. Russell Targ has commented that the techniques used by the US viewers for looking into the distant and future are strikingly similar to the detailed instructions given in the Yoga Sutra. Most ancient civilizations still appear to have been acquainted with the knowledge of this particular faculty of the human mind. In both Indian and Chinese scriptures, there are instances of the clairvoyant skills of people being used as a tool for obtaining relevant military information in the battleground. It is learnt that the US government authorities started paying serious attention to investigating the possibility of applicability of remote viewing techniques for military purposes only when a book titled Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain, authored by Sheila Ostrander and Lynn Schroeder, was published in 1970. This book appears to have jolted the US Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, into action, triggering what one journalist has dubbed as the race for inner space. Oh, I like that. Hal Puthoff, the founder of the first director of the SRI studies, has given a graphic account of how it all began in his recollections of the program. Meki. Piolo. You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. That's what happens when you're not with the flow. No, I think the next section is probably a little bit too long.
It's a bit long.
However, so look, the way this was structured is, of course, we need to give you the official view that everybody accepts in the world. Otherwise, because you gotta acknowledge it. That's what people are being taught. Then, what do practitioners actually do? And then, what is the actual evidence? And then, ideally, hopefully with this one as well, the evidence that none of this is new. Like I said earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that we just psychic powers. I just thought of it over breakfast. Hey, well,
I used my microwave and now I've got psychic powers.
Psychic powers, smash, Hulk, smash. But the
Hulk go smash. Yeah.
It's a rediscovery. And again, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, advisedly, for the longest time, the dominant culture on the planet, for the last 400 or 500 years, ever since colonization began, I guess, in anger, right? The Europeans have controlled the conversation. The Catholic Church, starting in the 15th century, all over the world, but specifically in South America, but all over the world, destroyed uncountable volumes of knowledge, books, scrolls, tablets, whatever. It burned them, smashed them, whatever. It melted them down if they were gold or silver. And and in anger. Like it was astounding that the level of efficiency that this destruction reached was only equaled by the Nazi book burning, some 500 years later. But it happened. And there was a shift away from what most people in the East would just consider, well, this is just what life is. Yeah, this you got the physical world, that's good. Then you get the spiritual world, because the two are the same, they're together, they're not separate. You can't understand one without the other. It's just, it's just how life is. There are energies you don't see. Don't tell me that's the music.
That's the music.
Oh, geez.
I told you not to tell me that. Huh. Guess what? That's the end of episode 624 of David Mackey's Shiny Side Out on Revolution Radio. Catch us 7 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday for Plato's Cave. And in the meantime, be safe.